Hello, you guys. Come on in. Okay, I don't know if this feels like true for anyone else, but I feel like it's been months since we've done this, not just like 1 month. I don't know. Maybe the end of summer whirlwind. Getting like my kids ready for school. My kids, no, just Noah ready for school. And I know a lot of parents have been waiting and waiting. There's been like school strikes too in Seattle. So it's been an interesting time. I always feel like it is like a really interesting vortex, like end of summer, the last 2 weeks of August. It feels similar to the last 2 weeks of December, where it's like time is going so fast, but so slow. And we're all like anticipating a big change coming, but it's not there yet. But then you're in the change, and then there's so many other things going on. That's what I feel like it is. Is anyone else? Okay, let's make sure we can see and hear before we jump in and get started. So if you're here, come over to the chat box. Just adjusting all the tech for us. Come say hi. I'm going to grab one more thing out of the fridge. I think I forgot to grab the spinach. Key ingredient around here. Okay. There we go. Okay. Cool. Can everybody see and hear? Hi, Diane. Great. I just want to make sure it's working. There's been so many funny times in the past where it's not working. So yes. Okay. Happy September, you guys. I am so excited. This feels like still a continuation of prime cooking season. A lot of that maybe depends where you live, but September is one of those months where there's just like the bounty of the food and the produce is just unreal. It's just crazy. And it's so much fun to cook. And I think especially transitioning into a new season, which is really what September is about. It's the first month of what we consider the fall, at least in the Western Hemisphere. That it is really important to like take a look at your routines, the things you're eating, the things you're doing, kind of just like your habits, what's going on with dinner these days. It's a really good time, I think, the beginning of each season to just kind of check in with yourself. Like, what is working? What is not working? What ways are you standing in your own way or getting in your own way? Are there things that you could do to simplify, streamline, or make more simple? These are always questions that I am asking myself, because I think once we kind of get into the routine of each season, what can work at the beginning of that season may not be something that works by the end of it. So by the time we're starting a new season, it's a really good time just to review, like, how is my body feeling? How is my mental health feeling? How is my emotional health feeling? Are there things that I can do to help sort of simplify or stabilize or get more grounded in that? And you all know that I believe that food is the number one way to do that. There is nothing that impacts your mood, your energy, your vibrancy, how you feel every single day than what you're eating and putting in your mouth. So to me, that's always the best and the first place to start, is thinking like, what could I simplify here? How could I bring more vegetables in? How could I make this something that will work maybe for everybody that I'm feeding? How could we make everybody happy with one swoop instead of splitting your time and energy and doing a bunch of different meals and a bunch of different things, and there's a bunch of different schedules. So I find that it's always just a good check-in point. I don't know if any of you feel similar, but depending on your stage of life and what is going on, it really doesn't matter. It's just a really good time to review. So that being said, today's recipes are along that line of ways that we can really help our bodies start to move through this transition time, which usually means we need to bring in a little bit more of the vegetables, or like bring it back to focus, or change the type of vegetables that you have been eating. Maybe in the summer, it's been a lot of like smoothies and salads and things that are more cold or raw or easy, like you don't need to cook them. And then as we move into the fall, we still want to be incorporating some of those things, but then also blending that with things that are maybe a little bit more cooked or roasted, and just kind of like help the switch that our body is naturally doing, it also keeps things interesting, right? If you're eating the same things every single day, it's going to get really boring and you're going to want to like reach for other things just out of pure excitement, versus taking the attitude of trying to make your veggies the more exciting part of the meal. So today, what I have are 2 sauces that I have been making nonstop, like at least once, twice a week in the last couple of weeks, because they've just been major hits. And I sort of giggle to myself at the table about how many vegetables both of my kids, so the baby, the toddler, and my husband are eating that they probably don't even really know about, but they love it. And so we're going to do 2 different sauces today that are very flexible and adaptable. Again, these are what I usually choose for the live cooking classes, because they're ones that you can make make your own. They're mostly allergy friendly, vegetable dominant, ways to get more veggies in your life and feel really good, and things that people will also look forward to eating, even if the people is just you feeding yourself. So I think there's so much we can do, because we all have to eat every day. There's so much we can do to kind of make the most of that time that we are eating by how many different vegetables we can get into our lives. And I think the key here is just how many we can get in, not going crazy or overboard, but thinking about it like over time and over the course of time. Over the course of your day, like how many are you really getting in? So these sauces allow 2 different types of sauces that both will go great over something as simple as like a lentil pasta, brown rice pasta. That's what we've been doing over here. But also are great over quinoa, mixed into a bean salad, mixed with lentils. If you have chicken or rotisserie chicken, something that's already cooked or grilled meat, if you're doing seafood or salmon, potatoes. I mean, I'm like trying to challenge myself, like something that these sauces wouldn't taste good with, maybe like salad, but that'd be a good pairing on the side. So these are super versatile. You can think about them as pasta sauces as you get started. And then you might start making them kind of in double batches, which I have been doing. So I'm like, wow, these actually do go with everything. Can you hear our yard project? Let me close the window really quick. We are currently putting a fence up, so sorry about that noise if you guys can hear it. So 2 different sauces today. I'm going to squeeze as many veggies in as we can while still making it taste decadent and delicious. One is called a Zucchini Greenie Pesto. So if you want to look for that in your dashboards right now, you are more than welcome to if you'd like to follow along specifically. And then the other one is a roasted red pepper and tomato sauce that can also have some carrots blended into it as well. So both of these are easy to make ahead. Both of these are using ingredients that now at the time of this recording in September are fully in season. So they should be pretty inexpensive, widely easy to find, and maybe you have a plethora of them, so you're looking for ways to use them and different recipes to incorporate them with. So the Zucchini Greenie Pesto, let's just walk through these ingredients so you can see how actually simple this is going to be. So it has 2 zucchini, 1 shallot. You can also use an onion if you have that, or green onion. So this is the type of thing you can use what you have on hand. If you'd like to add a clove or 2 or garlic, if you like garlic and do well with it, great. It has 1 cup of spinach, a 1/3 cup of coconut milk, and that's going to bring the kind of like silky, creamy texture without any added dairy, without any added cheese. So again, flexible for most allergies and sensitivities. And if you're not sensitive to those things, it's just a good way to mix it up, right? Try something new. 1 cup of basil. So this one we'll use fresh basil leaves, and then we're going to do salt and pepper. So the basic behind the recipe is to roast the shallot and the zucchini first. And then with the second sauce, it also starts with the roasted base of roasted red peppers. So the second sauce is a roasted red pepper and tomato sauce that has 2 bell peppers, 4 tomatoes, 1 shallot, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 cup of shredded carrots, which is optional if you'd like. And then we're going to use dried basil because I used all the fresh. I'm going to use the fresh basil in the zucchini greenie one. And then salt and pepper. So a red sauce and a green sauce, tomato based, and then like more of a pesto base, which then you can use in so many different ways. So the baseline of both is going to be cooking the veggies first, which I was thinking last night, and like, it's actually kind of boring to watch. Okay. So I cooked these last night so you can see. The nice thing about this recipe is you actually get to choose which way you would like to cook these. So for some people, I know it's easier to like, say they're starting dinner and they have like a full, 30 to 40 minutes to just cook dinner and put it on the table. They may prefer to do cooking these veggies on the stovetop with olive oil. That's great. It will probably take about 20 to 25 minutes for it to soften on the stovetop. Or you can do what I like to do, which is just roast them, because that's one-time chopping. I can put them both on the same pan. I put it in the oven, set the timer, and I can walk away, AKA do all the other mom things and around the house things I need to do that usually coincides around dinner time. So hands-off method, hands-on method, it doesn't matter. I think you get a slightly better flavor when you are roasting. The roasting brings out a natural sweetness anytime you're roasting vegetables, which is why it is the best thing to do if you have people that are picky, or if you are trying to incorporate more vegetables in your life and, by the way, like it. That is a really important thing to think about. So if you do have the time to roast, I would recommend going that way. You'll just get a much more complex, sweeter flavor. But if you don't and you are making this quickly, it's also going to turn out great. Okay. Any questions so far on that? So the zucchini greenie pesto and the roasted red pepper and tomato sauce, these recipes are both up in your Cooking Club dashboards. And again, they pair well with so many different things. So all I did to roast this, which you'll see in the directions for both, is to roast the zucchini, the peppers, the shallots. All of these will roast at 400 degrees with a little bit of olive oil on them for about like 20 to 25 minutes. And that goes for I have some garlic cloves in here too. So you can just do it all on one sheet, which makes it nice. And then I actually did put some more zucchini in right now because Noah ate all my zucchini that I did make last night as I was prepping for this. So let's get going, unless you guys have any questions about the two of those. So yes, these are gluten-free, nut-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian, the whole thing, egg-free, everything free. Tastes amazing though, so don't worry. So all we're going to do once we do have these done, and again, this is something you could do if you are meal prepping or making something else or turning the oven on anyways, this would be a great way to do it. So I'm going to add in, we're going to do which one should we do first? Zucchini greenie or the roasted red? Let's do the roasted red pepper and tomato. So these are 2 bell peppers that I had just sliced and roasted. So that's going to be our first ingredient. With this roasted red pepper, it's 2 bell peppers, 4 tomatoes, 1 shallot. 1 shallot. There we go. I just cut these shallots. You just always, when you're roasting, want to make sure they're like in similar sized pieces. That will just ensure like more even cooking as you go. And then 1 clove of garlic. Well, you can do 1 to 2. I generally go a little lighter on the garlic. If you are going to do carrots with this, I would either suggest you can use pre-shredded carrots. That totally works. If you want to just put them in raw, you can also roast carrots. That would make it like sweeter and creamier, definitely. So it's totally up to you which way you'd like to go. Okay, now we're going to get our tomatoes ready. And 1, 2, 3. You want to pick like the most ripe tomatoes. So again, tomatoes are something in season now, and both of these sauces are just great ways either to use up tomatoes or to have tomatoes that are like in their peak stage of ripeness, meaning they're going to be the most sweet. Can you guys all see? They're going to be the most sweet, and you can make this sauce and freeze it if you want for later in the year, like in the middle of winter when you need some brightness and some like just a really delicious sauce, maybe over something that's already like frozen or already made, or putting them on top of leftovers. I always kind of like to do that, like set up little like surprises for myself later in the fall and winter where I'm like in the freezer. So I'm sure so many of you have heard my trick before, but just using like the silicone ice cube trays. So once we make this sauce, pouring the sauce into silicone ice cube trays, and then you have single individual like sauce servings that you can like pop over chicken in a skillet or mix into rice or even drop in a soup. Like these are like little flavor bombs, you know, that you can put anywhere or over pasta or over something that you kind of have that's already cooked. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I am just, for the tomato sauce, I like to keep the seeds out of my tomatoes. They just make it extra gooey, and they actually are not adding a ton of flavor in this recipe. So I'm just scoring on top. So like a crisscross or an X, if you will. And I'm cutting about halfway down. So this is just like a little quick trick instead of trying to do it. And I generally will do this over the sink, but I'm going to just show you this here. So we have it sliced 4. So I'm just going to take it and I will do this over the sink. You just squeeze it together and all of the seeds and the juice comes out like that, where you don't have to be like cutting out every little like inner seed part. So here you go, like that. And then you're left with almost like these 4 petals. And so these tomatoes can go right in the blender. So again, remember, yes, you could do this. You could roast these tomatoes with everything else, but I'm also showing you just how you could do this raw if you'd like. If you did it roasting them, I would score them like this, these 4, and then I would roast them. Okay, so this is funny, and this is why I chose this cutting board. I used to use these flexible cutting boards like a lot more often, but I find that we're just kind of eating less meat overall right now, so I haven't needed it, but look, these are definitely helpful. If you do not have one of these, super helpful when you're cooking. They're easier to clean and sterilize, and I also find them helpful in the fall and winter for making soups because you can pick it up, you can fold slightly. So this is just on Amazon. I'm happy to share that link too if anybody wants it or needs it, but I have found that really helpful. Sometimes it's just the little things, you know. Okay, so let's go here. So now we're going to add in, we have our 2 bell peppers, 4 tomatoes, 1 shallot, 1 clove of garlic. You could do 2 carrots if you want to, that's optional. Now we're going to do 1 teaspoon of sea salt and about half a teaspoon of pepper. I'm just going to eyeball it here. And yes, both of these sauces are great for kids and also actually great for babies if you go light on the salt. So I'm just going to get some dried basil here. This is also optional, and you may find that you like something like a little bit spicier, like paprika or cumin. In the first cookbook, I have like a roasted red pepper harissa sauce, which has sort of the same base, but the spices are different. It's like a smoked paprika and cumin and a little bit like more of that smoky, more Spanish inspired, actually harissa. This is more like a tomato sauce that happens to have more veggies in it. Okay, so this is it. And then we just need to do, I wonder if this is missing from the recipe now that I'm looking at it. A 1/3 cup of coconut milk. So I am using the kind from Trader Joe's. It's actually one of the best kinds, the organic coconut milk. You always want to get full fat because it's one of the best brands that doesn't have guar gum in them, and most of them do. So it's when I don't go to Trader Joe's all the time or often, but when I do, I tend to like stock up on these guys as staples. They're just really great in the winter. Okay, so it's going to be 1/3 cup, like that. So this is going to give it, again, that creamy texture. And the nice thing about making both of these sauces together is that you have to roast anyways, so you can do it together. You're going to blend anyways, so you're going to be using your blender. And then they both use coconut milk. So it's a great way to use, again, similar ingredients, and then you'll be stocked on your sauces for whatever the week may bring. Okay, so I'm just going to blend this up together over here. just thought of another fun hack. Of course. Okay, this is what it looks like. It's like a beautiful creamy red color, which you'll get to see here. So another quick, fun, easy hack is you could easily turn this into a soup just by adding chicken broth. Pretty good, right? Okay, 2 recipes in one. Sneaky sneak. So depending on your mood or what you'd like to go to, I can add that into, as I was blending it, I'm like, oh, this looks just like my tomato soup. I'm like, well, yeah, it's actually similar ingredients. So there you go, friends. A 2 for 1. Okay, look at that color, right? Okay, just doing a quick blender rinse out. Okay, see? Amazing. Okay, Emily, a link to the cutting board. You got it. We will send that out after. Okay, it's so good. We're gonna probably have that over pasta, over whatever we have. That's the best part about this. Okay, we ready to move on? Second one. Okay, so that is the roasted red pepper and tomato sauce. Again, I would probably add a carton, so 4 cups of chicken broth if you wanted to turn it into a soup, and maybe slightly more, a little bit more of the coconut milk to your preference. But yeah, there you go. Now it makes me curious if we can do that with the zucchini, spinach, basil one. Maybe I'll try it and I'll get back to you first, okay? Okay, so moving on. So we're going to do the zucchini greenie one. So this was inspired by June, my daughter, she just turned 1 at the time of this recording, and just thinking about ways that I can be feeding my toddler, my baby, and us all the same, but all tons of vegetables. That's the basis of what we eat. That's how I know that I feel my best and to help them feel their best. So again, this was inspired by her. So just trying to think of ways, and like blends and purees and sauces are just so flexible for so many different types of things. And that means that you don't need to be eating the exact same meal every single night. That gets a little bit boring, I would say, but like starting with something like this, it can go on a bunch of different things. Okay. So I did 2 zucchinis that were roasted, 1 shallot. I put in a clove of garlic, which is optional on this one. We're going to do 1 cup of spinach because why not? It's all getting blended in. This is like always my motive. I'm like, what else could I get in there? What else could I get in that smoothie that they like love drinking? What else can go in that popsicle? What else can go in that muffin or baked good? Like little, I'm like famous for like sprinkling hemp seeds and flax seeds in like almost everything that I serve them. So used to it. And I do it for myself too, because it's great fiber. Okay. And protein and omega-3s. Now we're going to do 1 cup of fresh basil leaves. So this, again, the basil is really going to take over the whole flavor here, and you really won't be able to taste the spinach at all. If you're doing this for an adult meal, you could also use arugula instead of the spinach, but spinach is actually sweeter tasting. So I find that for sauces like this and when it's blended, 1 teaspoon of sea salt, same with the pepper. So I find when it's blended, the spinach is always sweeter. And that's always what I say too for people who are starting doing smoothies. Use spinach first, then you can kind of graduate to kale. Okay, so we have salt and pepper. We just need our coconut milk. We've got our basil, spinach, shallot, zucchini, and now we need our coconut milk. Here we go. We did salt and pepper like this. So what do you guys think? Would this be a good soup? Maybe. So that's a 1/3 cup of the coconut milk. And then you'll have probably about 1/2 can left, which I love to use to make chia seed pudding or the chocolate chia seed pudding. You can use it for a lot of, like if you're doing any muffins or baked goods for the rest of the week, or you can freeze this. You can pour it into, again, those silicone ice cube trays, make little individual servings that you could then pop into a smoothie. You could dissolve into a soup to make it more creamy. Gives you lots of options so that you don't need to feel like you're wasting this but it's delicious, like a little splash in your coffee maybe. Depends what you're wanting for the week. Okay, then we're just going to blend this one up. Okay, my bad. Let me just show you something. A teaching moment. I put the zucchini on bottom. It's going to make it a little bit more gluey as it spins. What I should have done was put the basil in first and the spinach in first, because those actually will spin up quickly and they create more liquid as you do. So this is something that you can just be mindful of. I'm going to put a little splash of water in there to keep it running. We don't want it to get too liquidy, but just a splash so that it keeps running here. Need the lid. Depend on your blender. I have a very intimate relationship with my blender, so I know that it needs just a little more water. We'll see, you guys. This is the fun part about live cooking classes. You get to see it really go down, you know? So you want to know something funny? Okay, so we have a lot of veggies in here. When I make this as pasta, you know what I put in the pasta? Either cooked chopped broccoli, usually frozen, or peas. So it's like peas and this green pesto, and we just call it pesto pasta with peas, and it is great, right? Everybody loves it. We're all happy. I giggle to myself. It's all good. Okay. Question. Okay, Deanna is asking, do you taste the coconut milk in either of these? No, I don't think that you do. But if you're very sensitive to the coconut milk taste, and try this and you don't love it, you can use so many different things if you want. You could use cream. You could use Parmesan cheese, more like a typical pesto if you'd like. You could do, I would say butter, but that would be a lot of butter and wouldn't make it as liquidy to blend. So I would say probably like you could do almond milk, you could do regular milk, you could use cream, you could use Parmesan. Yeah, all of those would be great swaps. Great question. Yeah, I do coconut milk because at least for me, when I was creating this recipe, I wanted it to be something that all of us can eat. And I haven't introduced dairy yet for June. So we haven't been doing like traditional pestos in that way. Just real life, man. Getting phone calls. Guys, we're busy. This is very important. Okay, so you can see this like beautiful pesto. Also, hot tip, make sure you rinse your blender right away. Otherwise it gets really annoying and impossible to clean later. Learn the hard way. Please just rinse it out. Okay. So you can see this color here, right? So potatoes, meat, quinoa, beans, rice, leftovers, chicken, like this, it's great over salmon. anything that tastes good over pasta, anything that makes pasta taste good, because pasta tastes like nothing, you can put over most other things. Yeah, totally. Let's see. Okay, Diane says, I love anything with coconut milk, but my husband picks up if it's used non-traditionally, like AKA Asian type dishes. Yeah, I mean, I think when it's mixed with pasta, you don't really notice. It just tastes like something creamy. But yeah, it does have like a slight hint of sweetness to it. Yeah, so maybe put more garlic in or more shallot for yours if you want to try it with him. Yeah, and it does. It brings out like a little sweetness. So up to you. If you make it the other way, let us know how it goes. That'll be fun to know. Okay, so that's it, you guys. So easy, so many vegetables. And again, this is just the sauce. So that's not even including probably the vegetables on your plate or even dipping roasted veggies in this. Like these, having these in your like fridge or whether you're going to freeze them for later is like a secret weapon. It's a little burst of sunshine and you know that you will feel good eating it, most importantly. So again, I think this time of year, this change in season, as everything's changing outside, it's changing within our bodies, it's changing what our bodies need, and going into a little bit more cooked and warm foods, thinking about eating more seasonally, it starts to happen naturally. But helping our bodies go through that process, I think is just a really helpful way to make the transition easier. And it does, like, so much of how we feel starts with food. So that's always my first go-to of like, okay, what types of things do I want to try or focus on or think about with my food this season? Are there ways that I'm not thinking of or that maybe weren't a part of last season? Like summer veggies are so different than how you're probably going to start to eat veggies into the fall and winter. So a little more roasting, a little bit more of the sauces, a little bit more cooked foods. But that still doesn't mean that you stop eating veggies. It just means you kind of create different fun ways and it keeps it fun, right? And fresh, which is, I think, part of the reason why we're doing this cooking club together too, is like, there's always new stuff to make and always new ways to think about it, especially when it's clean food and healthy food and simple food. Like, do you guys feel like you can do this? You know, I'm like, sometimes my test, I'm like, if I feel like I can do this with 2 tiny kids and running a business and cooking for my family and doing all the other things, then hopefully it's something you feel like you can do too. That's always my hope. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this later if you're watching the replay of this. And let us know anytime you have questions. Honestly, if it's a recipe question, if you're stuck on something, we are always here to help. And I'm so excited. I have so many new recipes coming your way now that it's fall, getting back in the kitchen. It's been really fun. So be on the lookout for those popping up. Again, we try to load in at least a new recipe every week for you. So whenever you feel like you need a little inspiration, there's always a new one probably waiting for you. All right, you guys, I love you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day and we'll talk soon.